Hi folks, and welcome back to our video series on the legal framework that actually is important to know about, as we talked about before, because HR actions are sort of governed by some of the legislation that's out there. And one important piece of legislation that exists and is covered under the Human Rights Code as well as health and safety is harassment. So harassment, again, is something that is an unwelcome behavior that will demean, belittle, humiliate, or embarrass you, and that a reasonable person should know is unwelcomed and inappropriate behavior. There are some examples in your textbook on page 38, but some of the links that we have here are going to give you some actual work-related ones as well. So you can read these, but we're going to talk a little bit down here about them. So some of the more common workplace harassment items are things related to sexual harassment and racial harassment. So based on color or creed, and then sexual harassment, which, you know, anybody who is trying to maybe, you know, wants to go on a date with you, wants to take you for dinner, and you don't really want to do that, you know, those kinds of things that can lead to places or to do things that employees are not really interested in. Anything like that could be sexual harassment. So in any case, those are the kinds of things that are considered, and we'll talk about them in a moment. It is important that companies have a written policy on it, okay, in order to educate employees on what harassment is and what it is not. So before we look at what it could cost you if you don't have one, if your employees sue you, let's just have a look at Mohawk's policy here for a moment. Okay, I'm just going to click here. And I'm just going to go up here and look at some of the definitions of workplace harassment. It's any, and again, employees, this is accessible to employees. As you saw, it wasn't hard for me to get there. I didn't have to log in or anything. But anything that that a person is doing that's maybe a vexatious comment, so it's kind of a cunning comment, or conduct against an employee in a workplace that people should know is not welcome. Specifically, it's something that would demean or humiliate or embarrass an employee in a work environment. Things like jokes or bullying them, making offensive jokes, say even something like putting down the quality of their work in front of other employees, you know, spreading rumors about you that aren't true, like malicious rumors, and belittling your opinions, like just saying to you in a crowd of people, or saying to you even privately, well, your opinion doesn't count, it's not important to me, or something like that. Anything that's that blatant is harassment. Okay, harassment includes sexual harassment, which could include sexual advances or requests for sexual favors, any jokes that are sexual in nature, any leering or staring, you know, the I want you or come hither kind of stare, displays of pornographic or sexual materials too, like, you know, dirty jokes in the internet kind of thing, or pornographic photographs. But it doesn't include things like say, for example, the employer is going to change your work schedule, or you're harassing me. You know, well, that's not the same thing, right? And if an employer is going to change your work schedule, there's probably a genuine work-related reason why they're changing it. Some people think workplace inspection, so if somebody's coming in to inspect your workplace, that's a health and safety requirement. There's committees in your workplace that are formed, employee committees, that have the right to come in and inspect your workplace to see if your area conforms to what's required to be a safe workplace, and the whole company can be inspected by the Ministry of Labor. So some of those things aren't considered to be harassment, but unfortunately some people feel harassed when it happens, all right? We're going to talk a little bit too about some of the costs to employers if they don't have a written policy on harassment, and some of the things that it could cost you even if you do and you mistreat people, and your rights and responsibilities for harassment in just a couple of minutes in our next video segment. So just hang on, we'll be right back.